episode 22 of No One Asked Us. Craig Shope, I'm Logan Lee. Happy 22nd week anniversary, Craig. You appear to be coming to us from a desolate location. But either way, I'm happy to see you. Happy that we're here. It was a very eventful week last week in terms of Illinois sports, which is going to be a lot of what we talk about today. But it's good to see you. You've had a good weekend. We're recording this on Sunday for the first time in a while. We've been pretty much doing Monday night or Monday late afternoon. But it's Sunday. It's Sunday afternoon here about 3:00 Eastern time that we're recording this show. We're here to talk about plenty of stuff. So you've had a good weekend.
It's been a busy weekend.
It's been busy.
For those that don't watch us on the YouTube, for those that just listen, I am still in the same room that I normally record in. Normally I have a bookshelf behind me with a lot of memorabilia and some flags and then St. Louis championship banners on one side. Those are all gone. All the decorations are gone because I am moving to a new city coming up in just a couple days. The walls are bare, but I am still in the same place as of now. But as of a couple days from now, I will be in a different city. So that's what's been taking up my time. I know I previewed the British Open on our show last week, and I honestly didn't watch as much as I wanted to because packing takes priorities when you have to move in a couple days. That was a lot of the weekend. And then I had a nice going away party last night with a lot of friends and former coworkers and stuff. So it was a good weekend, a busy weekend, and a tired weekend. I don't know if those on YouTube can probably see my eyes. I've got like 12 hours of sleep the last 3 nights.
So you're not getting up at 4:00 in the morning to watch golf or pack. So what are you doing?
I tried the 4:00 thing. The Thursday and Friday, I set the alarm for 3 a.m. I did wake up to the alarm and I turned it on. And next thing I knew, I was waking up at 7:30. So didn't really work. Okay.
Didn't go very well.
The golf was on my TV. My eyes weren't open to watch it. I did watch all of today. And so I know everything that happened. I just didn't get to personally have my eyes on the TV. It was on TV all weekend. When I woke up, I turned on Golf Channel and NBC to watch, but I wasn't always watching and glued to the TV.
Well, sorry that you weren't able to watch as much golf as you would have hoped. I only hope that your new destination has a full-fledged set. I'm sure you've been in the process of building, and you're going to have a whole set behind you for when we have our next show. Can the viewers at home expect to see a full set behind you during next week's show?
It'll probably be similar to this with just different color walls. Probably won't have, don't know how much of my decor will be in place at this time next week, but I will be in the new location next week. At least that's my plan right now. So I will tell you where that is once we get there.
All right. Well, make sure you send me your address so I can make sure to have your Chelsea banner shipped to you.
Yes.
To hang that behind you as well. So as I said, we're recording this on Sunday. So the show will be up likely on Monday, assuming Craig's moving doesn't get in the way of that. We have a lot to talk about this week. It was a very crazy week in Illinois sports last week, both from a positive standpoint, some very high highs and some very, very low lows. And we'll talk about some of the lows, or we'll talk about the low here shortly. But we do want to start with the big announcement out of Illinois basketball that happened on Friday with Kofi Cockburn announcing that he will be returning to Illinois for his junior season, which, I didn't know that we would have this much to talk about all summer long. I thought that we would honestly, be having to come up with different games or whatever to fill time on our podcast throughout the summer. But Illinois basketball has provided us with more than enough content. And I think that might finally be over for the foreseeable future. But
We've still got that support staff role to
There's
fill.
still a support staff spot, yes. So that will come up at some point, but that is not nearly as of a highest importance as some of these other things. But talking about the roller coaster that it has been from the off season, the way the season ended, anticlimactically and rather disappointingly in March, to the departure of 2 starters, including 1 All-American and a third. Well, I mean, originally there was 4. I mean, it was Io was obviously going to declare. That wasn't a surprise to anybody. Kofi declared, which really wasn't a surprise either. And then Georgie announced he was leaving. He was essentially also declaring for the draft. And then Adam Miller left. So that was four players that left right off the bat. And then Illinois lost all 3 assistant coaches. So it's very much been a roller coaster for Brad Underwood. But I don't know. And I'll ask you this question. Is this the absolute best case scenario from where, if I asked you at the end of this past season, after Illinois lost to Loyola on that Sunday, if I said, what is the best case scenario for next season in terms of what this roster looks like and what this coaching staff looks like, where does this compare to what you think that would have been?
I think at the end, an hour after the Loyola loss, I think best case scenario, I don't think this is best case scenario. I think best case scenario at that point would be at least 1 assistant stays and Georgie doesn't leave. Georgie or Adam, we'll put it that way.
I think, yeah.
We'll say Georgie or Adam doesn't leave, one of the 2. I think that would be best case scenario. But as things started happening, maybe like a month in, and everything started being thrown at the wall, at the end of the day, this kind of is a best case scenario. It's been the most tumultuous offseason, not only for Illinois, but has to be like nationally. This is
I would think
insane what Illinois has gone through. And after all of that, I will say this is a best case scenario is a lot, but it is definitely better, exponentially better than we felt a month ago.
I would agree. I think that Illinois
even last week I was saying Kofi was going to Kentucky. So
yeah,
it's even exponentially better than last week.
Yeah. I mean, I hate putting everything on one player, but when your one player is going to be a preseason All-American and will be an All-American and a National Player of the Year candidate. Yeah. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
I think Kofi deciding to come back makes this team go from middle of the pack Big Ten, a fringe NCAA tournament team that was going to be really guard heavy without much post presence, to a legitimate Big Ten and national contender. I think that's the difference that one player makes. I don't want to say that, Io not coming back. I mean, that wasn't a surprise. Io was never going to come back, but I don't want to downplay that or anything. But I mean, this team's got a good shot now. I mean, there's a lot of talent here, and we've known the guards were there. We knew that the season that Andre Curbelo had, the emergence that he had as a freshman, now that he's going to take over that lead guard spot. We knew that he had the guards around him with Trent and DeMonte coming back and adding Alfonso Plummer, potentially getting a healthy Austin Hutcherson, plus some of these freshmen, and keep Jacob Grandison. But as we talked about all offseason, it's been the post presence. We just did not know what that was going to look like, because the post last year was pretty much just Kofi and Georgie. That was it. I mean, Grandison played the 4, but I mean, he's a 3. I mean, he's not a post presence. Coleman Hawkins did get some minutes, and we knew that he was going to have to play a factor this year as well. But when you get, you get an Omar Payne to essentially take the spot of Kofi or Georgie, he's a more of a rim protector and, more of a 5 than Georgie ever was. And then you get Kofi Cockburn back. And as I said, this team is now absolutely in the national conversation to start this season, more so than they even were to start last season.
Yeah. How high do you put them?
I think they're top five.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to look at it. I couldn't tell you who else is in the top five other than Gonzaga.
Yeah.
But I would absolutely say they're in the top five. Sure, you'd love to have an Io DeSumo back. Like, that's just, obviously you would want to have him. He would have another year of eligibility, but that was never going to happen. Right. But to be able to have Trent back, then the emergence of Curbelo, this is a team that could legitimately compete. Yeah. I mean, not only when you're competing for the Big Ten Conference, that immediately means you're competing for a national title. Now, a Big Ten team hasn't won the national title in what seems like 50 years, but
21.
You're obviously in the conversation.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing that's come out of Illinois basketball in a while. Just because, I mean, Io coming back and Kofi coming back last year was huge, but I don't think anybody totally thought they were going to be a number one seed, contending for a national title. I think they thought they had a chance. They had a pretty good second half to the season prior to that, before the COVID shut down, and a lot of things went in their favor. But I don't think that people totally had them in that conversation quite yet.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, the expectations are going to be there. I mean, they are going to start this upcoming season in the top five, most likely. Kofi will be an All-American candidate to start the season. I think Curbelo is going to be in the conversation. And Trent Frazier is a player who, as a freshman, was a lights-out scorer.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had to do that the last few years. The last few years, he's been just an outside presence and a defensive presence. Now he might be the go-to perimeter scorer for this team, plus also their best defender, which, I mean, it's hard to say that he's the most important player on a team that also includes Kofi Cockburn and potentially Andre Curbelo, but I think Trent Frazier is just as valuable to this team right now.
Yeah. He, I think Kofi will probably lead the team in points, but Trent will be the leading scoring guard for sure. And that's my biggest question as it sits right now is who, and nobody can replace Io or take over Io's role, but who is the late game go-to? Like the last 2 years, it's been, all right, under 2 minutes, give the ball to Io. He might force a shot, but he's going to make it, or he's got a 60%, 70% chance of making it. And I don't know that this team has the one guy to do that. So they're going to have to figure out a way to get multiple plays called that start with the ball in Curbelo's hands, and he has multiple options and he finds the open man at late in games. They're not going to do the isolation late game stuff. It's going to have to be the high pick and roll with Kofi and figure it out.
Yeah. No, they don't have that type of scorer on this team.
Right. And that would have been Adam Miller, I think.
I agree. I
think he very well could create his own shot. He couldn't last year. I think he went through a rough freshman year. The college game was maybe a little more than he expected and he had never seen. So he had troubles last year, but I think at a sophomore year with a full year under his belt, he could have been a go-to. He would have been the leading scorer this year if he stayed. So yeah, you gotta find some way to win those late games without Io. That's my biggest question. Here on July 19th.
I would agree with that. I will say though, Io's ability in crunch time was far superior than anything else I've seen at the college level.
Yeah.
So yes, you want to have that on your team, but you're not going to find somebody like Io. Yep. You're just not.
Yep.
But yes,
Kemba Walker maybe.
Oh, that's true. Kemba had a different gene in him for sure. But yeah, Trent's gonna have to go back to being the scoring option that he was as a freshman, which he's certainly capable of doing.
Yeah.
You're gonna get, Plummer's gonna be able to fill it up from the outside. Curbelo's gonna get you some points, but he's more of a distributor, playmaker. I think Hutcherson's your X factor. I think if he's healthy, I mean, he's the type of player that Illinois hasn't had in a long time, like a legitimate wing. Mm-hmm. He's like what, 6'6", 6'7". He's the type of player that Illinois basketball has not had.
Yes.
Illinois has had some post players. Illinois has had some good guards, but if he's healthy, I think he has a legitimate candidacy to be that guy.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. I think that Trent's going to be, obviously Kofi's going to be the All-American and Curbelo's going to get some love, but I think Trent is just as important, if not more important, to this team going into this next season.
Yep. I think Kofi is a preseason All-American. I don't think he's preseason National Player of the Year. I know a couple people have said that. I think that'll go to probably Drew Timme.
Yeah.
But he's probably Big Ten preseason Player of the Year. Kofi is. I think Andre could be preseason Big Ten second team, whatever, if they even do that. I don't know what they do, but yeah, I think it was Trevor.
Trent's in there too. I would put Trent.
Trent would probably be right there. Yeah. That's your three-headed monster, I think, right now. I think it was Trevor Valise that's with ESPN 93.5 here in Champaign. I think he tweeted something like, if you would have told me 4 years ago that Illinois would get 3 years of Kofi and Io, I would have laughed in your face or something like that. Like, I don't think anyone would have been ever, because they both were like, we're one and dones. Like, we want to be one and dones. And then they stay for 3 years. I think Kofi could easily stay next year.
I think he could too.
He just, like we've said, his game doesn't fit in the NBA. I was talking to some guys last night, and we were watching the finals at the bar, and they were like he's DeAndre Ayton. Ayton's good. I was like, all right, name me another big that's like DeAndre Ayton. I was like, maybe Andre Drummond, but he's not even that good anymore. So it just doesn't translate. So I could see Kofi coming back for year 4. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
He would get a 5th year, right? Because of the COVID season, he would technically, I think, get a 5th year.
Yeah, potentially. I don't know how that would
I don't think that's likely. I think it's unlikely that he's back for a 4th season, but with NIL, and that's the reason he's coming back. I mean, we haven't brought that up this episode, but had it not been for NIL, Kofi wouldn't be back. Had it not have been for the quarantine, the COVID situation the year before, Io wouldn't have been back. So Illinois has gotten a bit lucky with some of these things. But yeah, with the NIL stuff, with Kofi now being able to make money at college, more so than he was probably going to make playing professionally.
Yeah.
Why not?
Would you have rather it been kept a little more of a secret? Because we kind of knew like Monday, Tuesday last week that it was Illinois, because the Kentucky reporters started reporting that, Kentucky never really recruited him. Like, he didn't even talk to Coach Cal. And then a reporter in Champaign flat out said Kofi is coming back like Wednesday morning or Thursday morning. He reported that. Would you have rather it like been kept hush hush, or did you like the fact that literally everyone was like, oh, he's coming back to Illinois?
That's a good question.
Or would you have liked just no announcement at all because he's coming back to the place that he was already at?
I've brought this up to you, and you've kind of disputed me a little bit. And I think there's some validity to both of these things, but I think this was about the drama. I do think there's some validity to the fact that he did want to go to Kentucky.
Yes.
I would not rule that out at all. But I think Kofi knew pretty early on that wasn't really what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think this was all about the drama. That's just the way it is anymore. Everybody has to have a tipped and edit. They have to have a video. Like, it's all about the show. And that's part of social media. It's people, it's retweets and likes, and like, so to answer your question, I mean, I guess I'm fine with it. Like, I don't know that it really mattered to me either way. I kind of forgotten about it, to be honest with you. On Friday, I had gotten home, and Allison and I had sat down to watch a movie, and I had kind of forgot that it was happening. Just because throughout the week we had kind of learned that it was likely going to happen. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of along the lines of, I don't know that we really need to go through this whole thing to begin with. Right. But I mean, I do believe that there's some truth to that he did want to go to Kentucky, or at least was like the option to potentially go to Kentucky. Yeah. But I'm going to guess that Antigua got in his ear and said that, this isn't the scenario for you. You're going to come here, you're going to compete with other guys for minutes in the post. Yep. And you can make money here. You might be able to win here, and we might be able to, turn you into a pro prospect, but I think he has all those options in Illinois too. Plus the Tim Anderson thing. We haven't touched on that this episode, but Tim Anderson has a history of turning players and working with players and turning them into pro prospects. So if that's what Kofi wants to, obviously, then, if he's not going to work with Antigua, I think Tim Anderson, the new Illini assistant, is as good of an option as anybody to work with.
Yeah. No matter what news comes out or what Kofi says in the rest of his life, there's no doubt in my mind that when he pulled his name out of the draft, he knew that Orlando Antigua was not at Illinois anymore. So he wanted to go to Kentucky. So that's why he entered the transfer portal. And then when Kentucky didn't reciprocate, and Antigua was like, no, not that we don't want you, just this isn't the right spot. Then Kofi was like, all right, I can't just be like, well, never mind, I'm going back to Illinois. Like he put Kentucky, Illinois, and Florida State out of nowhere in a top 3. As far as the announcement goes, like, yes, he entered his name into the portal. So I think an announcement was necessary in some form or fashion, where most people are just like, why are you even doing that? Like, whatever. But the fact that he was in the portal, he needed to at least be like, here's where I'm going. You know what I'm saying? He didn't need like a narrated minute and a half video. Like, just post a Tipton edit and be like, I'm coming back.
I agree. The reason I'm laughing is because somebody pointed this out on Twitter. It's actually somebody I'm related to, but when Kofi did his, he posted his tweet had his picture and the 3 logos of the 3 schools he was considering. It was Kentucky, Florida State, Illinois. And had he chose a different Florida State logo and included like Oregon, it would have basically spelled his name. It would have just said Kofi. That's what he should have done. Had he just chose a different Florida State logo, it just would have been funny. But
I only watched his video once, but there was one point where he said something. I think he said it's time to take the next step or something like that. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, what? And then he was like, a national championship. I was like, okay. Like, you need to work on that phrasing, man. Like, my heart sunk. Because I was going to say this earlier.
By the time I watched it, I had already known the outcome. But yes, I had the same feeling when I watched it.
Yeah. I was going to say this earlier when we were kind of breaking down the roster. And you did basically say it. I was going to say that this team with Omar Payne as the starting 5 made me very nervous. But Omar Payne is the backup to Kofi. I am totally at peace. Payne will still get 15, 20 minutes a game, hopefully more. I don't know. I kind of like his game. I just don't know what happened at Florida. But yeah, we could still use a 4, I think. But I'm okay. I'm very okay with how things are right now.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at right now about an 8 or so man rotation with Curbelo, Frazier, Plummer, DeMonte.
Actually got it saved on my phone.
Grandison, Coleman Hawkins, Kofi, and Payne. That's your 8. Assuming you get a healthy Hutcherson, that's 9. And that doesn't even include any of the freshmen, who at least one of them is likely going to end up getting minutes. So
yeah,
Illinois didn't go very deep in their rotation last year, but they actually have a potential to, go 9 or 10 deep here on a regular basis if they need to. So I like it.
I've been keeping up as the roster changes happen, like what my starting 5 would be as the roster sat at that current moment. I've got Curbelo, Frazier, Plummer, Grandison, and Kofi as the starting 5. Is that what you had?
I've thought about it a variety of ways, and I've seen people post the different things. Like the Gazette had one thing posted as a potential, and I've heard other people talk about it. I think there's a good chance that they start with maybe DeMonte and Grandison
instead of 4. Like Plummer.
Yeah, just maybe to start the season.
Yeah.
But I could see something changing because Plummer is essentially going to have to be the backup point guard. I know he's not really that much of a 1. Him and Trent though are that's really going to be the roles they're going to play.
Right.
I could see Plummer working his way into there. I could see Hutcherson working his way into it. Or I could even see Coleman Hawkins maybe working his way into it. Yeah. But I would say to start the season, 3 of them for sure. Curbelo, Frazier, and Kofi. will be in there. The other two spots are going to be kind of up in the air. Depends on if they want to play big, if they want to play small, if they want to have that third, dead eye shooter on the floor. It just really depends on what they want to do.
Yeah.
This really takes away some of the drama of that Big Ten ACC challenge that we talked about a few weeks ago, because I think Illinois wipes the floor with Notre Dame now.
ACC or who makes those matchups? Is it like a collaborative effort?
I don't know if who it is.
They should have waited until August to release those.
Yeah. When it was announced, we didn't really know what the Illinois roster was going to look like. So, okay, put them up against a middle of the road Notre Dame team and see what happens. But now I don't see there's any shot that doesn't result in a wiping of the floor of Mike Bray's squad. My question though, and I don't know if you know an answer to this, there's all the stuff about Kofi doing the stuff with the player's trunk before NIL was announced.
Yeah.
What do you think results in this? Is it just as simple as he gives the money back and he's clear? Or does he have to face a 1-game suspension against McNeese State or whoever the heck they open up the season with? Or how does that happen? What do you think?
I think it's all on the table. I really don't know. And that's something that I had kind of got lost in the shuffle until Christy actually said something to me about it. Because I've talked about it on the podcast that I'm a big player's trunk guy. I've gotten multiple things from a player's trunk before NIL started, where current athletes could sell their stuff. So I think that could potentially play a factor. Excuse me, just because the fact that he could do it now and sell it and be okay. So they could be like, all right, it's okay this one time. It's a unique situation. But I could also see them taking a little bit of a hammer to him and being like, no, dude, when you did this, it was illegal.
Yeah.
So I don't know what could happen. I think a suspension could be likely. I don't know what exactly what likely would be. I think a suspension could happen. I definitely think he could have to give the money back. I don't know. It's a unique situation. And it just kind of tells you, and I don't want to place blame on talk down on anybody, but I think he had some bad people in his ear this offseason as far as things like that go. Like, he shut the door on coming back to college.
Yeah.
When he shouldn't have. So I don't know if that was him just being cocky and being like, no, I'm not coming back. Or if it was people telling him, no, dude, you're ready for the NBA when he's really not. So he definitely should not have done the player's trunk thing until he knew for sure what was going to happen.
That's a part of college athletics that doesn't really get talked about a ton. And even Kofi's even old for most college students, but we're still dealing with 19, 20, 21-year-old kids here.
Yeah.
And a lot of these times, no, they don't have great advice getting thrown at them when it comes to where they're going out of high school, or whether or not I should take something that somebody's offering me. Like, there's just a lot of bad decisions that do get made. And I agree. I do think that some were made by Kofi this offseason. Will any of it really matter in the end? Probably not. As I said, it might be a couple game suspension. He might miss a couple games at the beginning of the season. I don't think that would affect this team too much. We don't really know the schedule. I'm looking at the schedule. The only things that are posted right now are Marquette, at Marquette, basically in Milwaukee in November. The Hall of Fame Classic, which is out in Kansas City. They'll get Cincinnati, the first game of that, followed by either Arkansas, who was a good team this year, or Kansas State. That'd be fun. And then Notre Dame, like we talked about at the end of November. Plus, we know we'll get Mizzou in there somewhere as well.
Also Arizona.
Arizona. So we'll see.
That's a good slate.
Right now, it's a good slate. It's a very winnable slate, I think. Especially, now that we know that Kofi is back. We've talked about it. This is a team that will likely start the season in the top 5 in the country. There's going to be some good teams in the Big Ten. Don't get me wrong. Purdue's pretty good. Hunter Dickinson coming back to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be good as well.
Michigan, Purdue, Illinois, I think.
Yeah,
with Maryland. I think Maryland's right there.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. But either way, that was the definitely the high moment that came out of Friday in terms of Illinois sports. So looking forward to that. We do want to talk about the other thing that came out on Friday, and that was the unfortunate passing of Illini defensive end Bobby Roundtree. He's not a former player. He was technically still a member of that team. Bobby played for the Illini 2017, 2018. I believe, was he Lovey's first recruit or one of his very first recruits?
I think I don't know. I know the first recruits were, I believe, Kendall Smith and Ricky Smalling with Cam Thomas right there as well.
Okay.
I don't think Bobby was in that group. But,
okay. Well,
but he was like the crown jewel of that class,
yeah,
I think.
He was one of the first big recruits for Lovie Smith during his tenure with the Illini. As I said, he played 2017, 2018 seasons, played in every game, or I believe close to every game as a freshman. Made 11 starts and had like 50 tackles. And then he was all Big Ten as a sophomore in 2018. I think he recorded like 60 some sacks or 60 some tackles that season as well. Was destined for a great future in the orange and blue, and likely a professional career after that.
Most definitely.
That was unfortunately ended abruptly that following off season when he essentially was paralyzed in a swimming accident that basically ended his football career.
Yeah.
Totally a fluke type of thing. He was only 23 years old when he passed away this past Friday. That hit hard, man. That hit hard. And everybody was shocked by this. I think there was a lot of questions surrounding what exactly happened. And I don't know that we really know all the answers right now. Yeah. And we might never know the answers right now, but what were your thoughts when that hit you? Because I know it hit me like a truck, man.
Yeah, it was tough. I think mainly because Bobby was one of the handful, very few players, I'll say, did I interact with from Illinois outside of a work environment. And Bobby was someone that I had seen and hung out with a couple times prior to his injury. So I knew him a little more than most Illinois athletes. And he was a fun guy. He was always dancing. I remember the first thing I did after I realized that this was true, that this had happened. I remember the spring game, like the month before his accident in April of 2019. I got some video of him and MJ Rivers dancing. It was like in between snaps or in between like drives at the spring game. And they were both dancing. It was to Cupid Shuffle. So he was doing the Cupid Shuffle on the field. And I tweeted it out and I was like, one thing's for sure. If there's music playing, you can find MJ and Bobby dancing. Like if there's music and they're not in a huddle or they're not talking to the coach or something. If they're on the sideline, if they're on the field, just chilling, they're going to be dancing. And I tried to find that tweet. I eventually did find it. It took forever. Twitter's search is terrible. That's neither here nor there right now. But he was just such a fun dude. And since the accident, he's been so inspirational for all of Illinois, all of Illini Nation. The hashtag 97 strong, I think, is something that's going to live on forever now. And that's something I think we'll talk about here in a little bit, or I at least want to talk about a little bit here in a little bit. It was devastating. It was tough. It was a tough time just because he inspired so many through his recovery. One of the coolest things was after Illinois beat Wisconsin, the first thing they did in the locker room after the on-the-field celebration was they FaceTime Bobby and like brought him into that locker room because he helped get them to that place. And he couldn't be there. And then he showed up to that game in 2020, late in the year. I think it might have been the last game of the year, Northwestern or something. He showed up and was on the sideline and in the locker room and motivating the guys. It was just, it's not the way that his story was supposed to end. You know, there was so much more left for him. And I think that's what sucks the most.
Yeah. He was absolutely a presence, both on the field and off the field, especially after the accident happened. He was, as you said, inspirational. That's the word to describe him. Even I feel like I'm going to look at this a lot. But on Thursday, his last tweet was on Thursday. It said, "Stay humble and keep elevating." And then on Friday, we heard the unfortunate news about him. But yeah, I mean, he's not somebody that I knew personally. Being away from all that stuff, unlike what you've been able to do. But I've obviously been familiar with his story and seeing him on the field and what he was doing there, and then what happened on Friday just caught everybody off guard. We talked about before the show, we talked about Joey Wagner from Illini Inquirer, who was down there, supposed to interview Bobby, do a piece around him, follow him around for the day on Friday, and found out while he was down there about it. So
Joey was sitting in the rehab facility, like waiting for Bobby to get there, and the rehab people told him he's not going to make it. And I talked to Joey last night, and it was just like, I can't imagine being in that situation. And I felt so bad for Joey being in that situation, but he did end up with under the circumstances, he ended up with a good story and a good rebound. He went back to the rehab facility after going back to his hotel to kind of regroup his thoughts. And he went back to the rehab facility, and I think him and like 10 of the workers there just kind of sat in a circle and just kind of talked about Bobby and how much Bobby meant to that rehab facility. And it ended up being a good story about how inspirational Bobby was and how much Bobby meant to that facility down there. So it was a good rebound from Joey. It's on IlliniInquirer.com. Or I'm sure you can find it on Joey's Twitter at Mr. Wagner25. So, but yeah, it was sad. What I wanted to touch on before so I don't forget, is how would you like to see them honor him? Is it a one-time?
Oh gosh,
just one, like the first game of the year, just remember him? Is it a helmet sticker this year? What do you think it is?
It's not just a one-time thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I would totally see them putting something on the field. A 97 sticker on the field somewhere.
Yep.
Or on obviously the helmets the helmets or the jerseys, something will have that on it for sure. And yes, they will do something, at the first home game of the season, no doubt. But that's not something that you just, it happens just one time. I mean, it's going to be a season long, if not, long time remembrance of him, just for the player he was and what he meant to this team and to this group of guys. And they're going to do plenty for him, I'm sure, but it won't be enough to make up for that.
I've had a couple ideas floating around. I've seen a couple people with some good ideas. My idea was like put a 97 jersey like in a frame or something weatherproof and like plaster it on that wall that the band sits on.
I like that.
Kind of outside of that, like you got Grange's Rock, right? I think that's Grange's Rock or Harold, that rock that they touch when they come out of the locker room. Kind of over in that area, right outside the locker room. The way there's always that 97 jersey out there. I've seen some people say retire 97. I'm not sure if you want to retire it. And I think it was Mike Pearson. I think that's his name. I hope I didn't mess that up. I think it's Mike. He was a former Illinois SID. If you don't follow him on Twitter and you're an Illinois fan, you should follow him because he has so many nuggets and is always tweeting about Illinois. I think it was him that said, and other programs have done this before, do it as the like the memorial number. So assign it to a senior every year that like exemplifies Bobby's drive and personality. So it's like, that's like the best way for him to live on in the program is like that 97 jersey means something. Like have the players vote on it. That way 97's still out on the field as an Illini. So people might associate it with Bobby Roundtree, which I think is also a good idea. But yeah, I think the sticker on the helmet or jersey is going to happen this year. Having 97 on the field somewhere is going to happen this year. It's just it's a heartbreaker.
Yeah,
how this happened.
Yeah, that was it definitely hit a lot of people. Not only players within the program, fans, but across the Midwest, across the Big Ten, across the country. I mean, that was he was such a guy that was beloved by all around him, and he's definitely going to be missed. Want to send our condolences out to his family and the players and everybody around him, because that's something that you never want to see. He was only 23 years old, and even despite the injury, despite what had happened to him back in 2018 or whenever that was, he still had a lot ahead of him and was on the road to getting better. So you hate when something like that happens. So that was, as hard as that was to swallow. Later that day is when we did find out about the Kofi stuff. So that was, at least, from an Illinois fan standpoint, it's at least nice to have some sort of positivity come out of the day. Although I'm sure there were some people that were saying Kofi should delay his announcement and all that stuff, which I can see that just because of what was happening. Either way, whatever he was going to announce, but it was nice to have something positive to look for as Illinois fans. So, but that wasn't, the only positivity that came out this week. Illinois football did have pretty good week recruiting wise too. Which is always nice to get. One of them even being a local kid from Gibson City, Aiden Laffery. Is that how it is? Laffery? Laffery. He's a running back for GCMS, but he's he had offers from several Big Ten schools, including Iowa. I know that they were one of the two hats there at the table that he chose Illinois over. So that's a big get. And this is just a breath of fresh air to me as an Illini fan, just to see Bielema and his staff going after local kids. I don't know if this kid's gonna have I don't know how much of an impact he's gonna have on the field. This is just not a player that Lovie Smith would have gone after. And that sucks. And it's nice to know that that's happening. I've seen this at a variety of levels, and I'm sure you're familiar with some where there are players in your backyard that coaches don't go after. I don't know if you're familiar with any of those stories or not. But you were his water boy. And
I made him. I practiced against him.
Okay, whatever. It's just nice when stories like this happen. Because it happens countless times when they don't, and I hate those stories. I hate the players that are in the coach's backyard that end up going to play that sport at the same level somewhere else. Because that coach didn't care.
More often than not, that somewhere else is a Big Ten school where they come back and face Illinois.
It's one thing if you just flat out get out recruited. I get that. But there are situations where the coach just does not pay attention and just doesn't care. And to see that Bielema is going after players like this, it's tremendous. And I'm all about it. As that was a big, he had a big announcement this past week announcing that he was going to go to Illinois. So as I said, he's a running back for GCMS. I don't know where he'll get used at Illinois.
Some of the stuff that I'm seeing, I think it was Jeremy Werner said that they kind of talked about the slot for him. But I think they basically told him, we'll find a way to get you on the field. Someone I think tweeted or something and said, and it's not a good comparison because we just don't know about Aiden Laffery, and I don't think that this is going to be what he becomes, but a Christian McCaffrey type player.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Not of the talent, but of the use, how they use him.
Sure.
He's fast. I think he went to state in the 100 meters or 200 meters or something for GCMS and track. So So yeah, I was happy just because mainly it's because we beat Iowa for him. Illinois beat Iowa, and I just of all the schools for Illinois kids to go to, I hate seeing them go to Iowa more than anywhere. So yeah, it was a good win. Good win.
I agree. That was one of two big wins for Illinois football this week. The other one is Sean Miller, who I'm not sure where is he from. I know he's been playing at IMG
from Arizona.
in Bradenton. Okay,
from Arizona.
So from Arizona, been playing for IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida. But he's a receiver out of IMG. Also had several Illinois or Big Ten offers. And chose Illinois over Indiana, Michigan State, Arizona, amongst some others, I'm sure. So, but he's, as I said, he's a receiver, originally out of Arizona, number 67th ranked receiver in the class, I believe.
Yep.
So as I said, two big gets for Illinois football this week, on the recruiting trail. Illinois sports recruiting wise, especially men's basketball and football, have been pretty solid the past few weeks. Illinois basketball has had some big recruiting wins. I don't know if we talked about them too much on this show. We've had a lot of other Illinois basketball things going on, but they've had Chester Frazier's been working hard on recruiting in for basketball, and to see Bielema and his crew go after some of these guys, particularly the local kids, I think that's just awesome. So yeah,
Sean Miller is a huge get. He's a top 500 player by 24/7 Sports, which Illinois does not get many of those. And they beat out some stiff competition for this kid, and at a position that they really need. I think they've got four receivers in this class now. No, that's not right. 3. They've got 3 receivers in this class, and Lawfrey, who could line up as a receiver. So there is only one defensive player in the class right now, which is, I wouldn't say worrisome. Oh, there's 2 now. They got 2 now after Jared Beatty. But yeah, I mean, 4 of the top 5 recruits for Illinois have committed in the last month. Sean Miller is the highest ranked recruit for the class right now. And then Lawfrey's the 5th rated recruit commit for Illinois right now. But 4 of the last 5 have come since June 23rd, which is needed. It's moved the class up to the 8th in the Big Ten and 36th nationally by 24/7 Sports. So building some momentum. You were touching on Bielema recruiting Illinois. Lovie Smith signed 10 Illinois kids in his first recruiting class, 2017. He had 10 Illinois kids. After that, the next 4 classes, he had 13 total. 2018, he had 5. 2019, he had 5. 2020, he had 0 commits from Illinois. And then 2021, he had 3, I think I counted. I counted that as Lovie's class, even though Bielema was the one that signed them on signing day, because he had been hired like 3 weeks prior.
Right.
So yeah, and Bielema's already at 8. So let's just hope that he doesn't pull a Lovie, sign 10 guys this year, and then just abandons the class or the state the rest of the year. But he's off to a good start. We talked about that last night as well, at the bar, about how Bielema has like essentially checked off every box that we could have imagined. So it's been good.
It's been good. He's definitely been, as I said, a breath of fresh air in terms of recruiting some of the local kids. And as you said, I don't think there's any question that he will not continue doing that.
Yeah.
I think he's made it very clear that that's something he wants to focus on. Yeah. And I'm not saying that the state of Illinois produces the best football players in the country. I mean, it doesn't. That's not a thing. But there's definitely talent out there, and to just blatantly ignore it is that's just not good business, in my opinion. So, we're going to move on to the Open, the artist formerly known as the British Open, which Craig apparently did not watch.
I think I like that better. I think I like British Open better than the Open.
I agree. The Open's too generic.
Yeah.
Either way, Craig apparently didn't watch it this weekend, so I was really expecting this to be plenty of content today. So
it's gonna be quick.
Okay, so let's hear it. Give me your brief recap of the quote unquote Open. Anything positive happened? How did your picks go?
Did you look at the leaderboard? They were pretty good. No. My picks last week.
Saw who won.
My picks last week were Louis Oosthuizen, Jordan Spieth, Xander Schauffele, and Lee Westwood. All of them made the cut. Westwood was, I didn't even see where he finished. But he made the cut. I think he was around even par. Schauffele shot 5 under today. He wasn't in contention, but he made the cut and had a good weekend. But Oosthuizen and Spieth were in the top 3. Oosthuizen led after, I think, all 3 rounds, the first 3 rounds. And Spieth was in second after the first 3 rounds. But Colin Morikawa came back and won it, his second major. He's only 24 years old. He started 8 majors in his career, and he's won 2. So that's a pretty good track record. Jordan Spieth kind of lost it Saturday. He bogeyed 17 and 18 when he very easily could have birdied. He 3-putted 18. So he dropped a stroke there. And if he just pars those, he ties Morikawa today because Morikawa won by 2. I was pretty disappointed. Like I said last week, the British Open is very well known for their cold and windy and rainy weather. And it was 81 degrees and sunny today, which is not what I like to watch with the British Open because we get that here all the time. I kind of wanted something different, but all in all, it was fun. I'm glad an American won. Americans have won 14 of the last 18 majors, which I like. Morikawa is a stud. He's Morikawa, Spieth, Brooks Koepka, Xander Schauffele. They're like my favorite golfers right now. So I like when they win. Morikawa was 24. He played at Cal. But yeah, it was good. Like I said, like I said at the start of the show, I had it on. Wasn't able to pay attention the whole time because I was packing up stuff and moving boxes and running errands to get ready and stuff. But yeah, it was fun to watch. That puts a cap on the majors. The FedEx Cup is coming up at the end of the season, culminating with the Tour Championship, who we named the Tour winner. But then we got the Olympics, and golf is in the Olympics, which is starting here in 2 days. So more.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be a great segue into, as you said, the Olympics are coming up. So, there's plenty to talk about there, and stuff that we probably will talk about next week a little bit. The thing that I think is probably the most interesting that several of our listeners might actually care about, this men's basketball team that the U.S. has right now, it might be a giant mess. I hate to think that I have a hard time believing that USA basketball can't win gold medal at the Olympics, but the way this team is structured right now and the debacle that it's becoming it's kind of a mess.
Yes.
They're rocking with like 6 guys for a while because 3 other guys are still playing in the finals, which we haven't talked about that yet, but we can touch on your Suns if you want to, blowing their lead. No. But they have three players that are currently playing in the finals. They had 2 players, or at least 1 player, if not 2 players, went under health and safety protocols. 2 players, and then Kevin Love decided he wasn't going to play, which I'm not sure why he was on the team to begin with, other than the fact that he's been on the team before. So they wanted to have some experience. That's about the only reason I could think for why he was there to begin with. But for a while, I think they had 6 guys on their roster prior to Tokyo. So I know they've added a couple of guys since. One of them, JaVale McGee, who...
What? That's the best you can do?
I mean, they needed post presence, but I don't know. I'm going to guess they're running into situations where guys just don't want to play.
Yeah.
I think that's the best. Like a Zion Williamson. Just didn't want to play. I mean, I have a hard time believing that these guys weren't offered the chance, but I think coming off of the pandemic, followed by a season, some of them seasons, went into June or July, people are like, well, why isn't LeBron playing? Well, LeBron is tired. LeBron wants to take some time off a little bit from basketball before his next season starts, when he's trying to win another NBA championship. Plus he's a movie star. So I mean, I think
what's going on in Tokyo right now with COVID.
Yeah, there's that too. I think there's definitely a possibility out there that something affects the Olympics drastically.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Either way, USA men's basketball looks to be a debacle. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, the Olympics are coming up this week. We're going to have plenty of stuff to talk about. I'm sure there's several local connections that we will, we'll definitely bring up and touch on. Anything you wanted to preview before it to get the people excited?
That's all that I was going to do. I went through and listed off Illini and Salukis that I can remember or I could find that are going to be there. Because I think it starts Wednesday. The first events start Wednesday. Opening ceremonies are Friday, but softball and soccer, I think, start Wednesday. So Illinois has got, I think the most notable probably are women's volleyball players. Jordan Poulter from just a couple years ago, the Final Four team. She's on the women's volleyball team, and Michelle Barch-Hackley, who is I don't remember when she graduated, but she's an alum from Illinois. Volleyball starts the 25th and runs all the way through the end, August 8th. And then Illinois does have a couple golfers representing Belgium. Thomas Peters and Thomas Dietrich both are playing in the men's golf tournament for Belgium that starts the 29th and runs to the 1st. David Kinziera made it in the 400-meter hurdles for the USA, which 400-meter hurdles is like the most grueling event maybe in sports history. I would never want to do that. The track and field is July 30th through the 8th. Alex Diab is an alternate for men's gymnastics on the rings. He was really good at Illinois. I covered him a ton. Rajiv Ram is a tennis, which is the 24th to the 1st. And then two Salukis, Deanna Price and Gwen Berry. I think they're both hammer throw. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Both hammer throw, and their events are the 1st and the 3rd. So there's a good handful of people. I very well could have missed someone. I just went off the top of my head and did one quick Google search. So very well could have missed something, but yeah, the everything starts on Wednesday and runs through the 8th of August, I think. Have I ever told you my Olympics take? I'm pretty sure I have.
Your Olympics take?
Yeah.
I feel like we talked about this, but I don't remember.
That they should build an Olympic facility in Athens and just have it there every 4 years.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah. I like the idea.
I stand by that, and I always will.
I don't know that the rest of the world will agree with you necessarily, but I can see that. Real quick before we move over to Big Brother, which I do want to talk about.
Yes, please.
Last week on the show, we gave predictions for the home run derby.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember.
Oh, I forgot.
So we recorded last week's show right before the home run derby started, but then the show went up the following day after the home run derby had happened.
Yeah.
And how did our predictions go, Craig?
I'm pretty sure I said Pete Alonso, right?
I think we both said Joey Gallo.
Yeah, we did.
Sorry. I think I did hedge my bets and say that Pete Alonso was probably the safer choice, but I wanted to have a little fun with it and take Joey Gallo. Pete Alonso put on a show, man.
I tweeted it. I hope he does it every year.
Yeah, I agree. I always enjoy watching the home run derby. I don't totally love the 1 versus 1 format. I kind of like the idea of, the top four moving on.
Yep.
But I will say that the 1 versus 1 does bring some extra drama.
It does.
And I think that's good for getting people involved.
Yeah.
Because sure, the top 4 makes the most sense, but when you're trying to get people invested and, I think it works for that. It's unfortunate when you have Shohei and Juan Soto going after it to double overtime or whatever they did, and only one of them can advance. But or whoever, somebody else had a really good first round and didn't make it. I don't remember who it was.
It was
the first matchup, right? Who went first?
The first 2 matchups were 1 home run difference. It was
but the first
Matt
one,
Olson.
Oh, it was Salvador Perez. Perez put up a ton of home runs in the first round, but lost by 1 to whoever he faced. Trey Mancini, maybe? I don't remember. Whoever it was.
No, he lost to Alonso.
Okay, whatever it was.
Matt Olson.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Whoever.
Lost to Mancini.
So either way, my only takeaway from the home run derby, though, I like that they've changed it up so that it's the timing and that the pitchers can basically throw like right away.
Yes.
But they got to do a better job of being able to track the home runs and show
Yes.
us where, because when they're doing the split screen and like you can kind of see it, but they have the technology to do that. I don't know why they don't utilize that.
Yes.
Like show us where the ball is landing. Like at this point, it's not, we don't care about how many home runs they hit. We want to see how far they go, especially when it's at Coors Field. Like I want to see where that 600 foot home run ball. I mean, that wasn't an actual thing, but I want to see like where those land.
Yes.
More so than how many home runs somebody hits.
Yes.
Personally.
And ESPN did they hyped everything up about, we're going to see so many 500-foot home runs and the ball flies 28 feet farther in Coors Field than it does in an average ballpark. And then you didn't see how far any of them flew. Like if I remember right, like wouldn't the distance come up as soon as it hit the stands before?
Yeah, you said that. And I was watching the ESPN2 feed with Benetti and Jess Mendoza. They were doing the StatCast version.
Yeah.
But even on that still, I didn't see that like you were, because they didn't show the distance on there either. So that was my one big takeaway with the home run derby. Just real quickly, what were your overall thoughts on the Shohei Ohtani weekend experience? With him being in the derby and then pitching and then hitting, and
it was cool. I don't know that we'll see it again. So it was cool in that aspect. But I mean, he was bounced in the first round of the derby. He pitched 1 inning, right? And had and
he had 2 at bats.
2 at bats, and I don't think he got a hit. So
I think he grounded out.
I feel like it was cool to see one person doing all of those, but as far as his performance, he didn't really do anything.
No.
His battle with Juan Soto in the first round was awesome. Went to triple overtime and a swing off, and so that was really fun. But other than that, it was just kind of meh. And I said it last week. The actual game of the All-Star game is very meh to me.
Yeah,
it didn't do anything.
I agree. I only watched the first probably 4 or 5 innings of the game itself. I did watch all the home run derby though. So
they tried to do those in-game player interviews and all of them sucked.
Yeah.
All of them
I don't love those. Sometimes you get a good soundbite out of it. Sometimes.
Freddie Freeman was good.
Freddie was good. Did you see the little video of his son Charlie going up to Fernando Tatis Jr. to get a hug?
His favorite player.
That was my favorite thing from the whole weekend. So, all right. So that's kind of where we are with baseball. The second half is underway of the baseball season. Both of our teams appear to be out of it, but who knows? The Cubs have already made one deal, trading Jock Peterson away. The Cubs have now, over the past 48 hours, acquired 2 first basemen. I don't know that says anything about their system or about the future of any one particular player, but I think it's interesting. They traded Jock Peterson to the Braves for a first base prospect, Bryce Ball, and then today they just claimed first baseman from the Oakland A's, Frankie Schwindel, I think is his last name. Either way, that's where the Cubs are at. No, the Cardinals have not made any deals at this point, so
and they won't.
And they probably won't. So real quickly before we go, Craig, we are officially 1 week into Big Brother.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. Frenchie is a mess. Had a tumultuous week. Everything about his game blew up in his face. Do you think he recovers at all? I'm sure you haven't seen anything from the week. I kind of know where we're going with this. Not totally. I don't know everything, but do you think he recovers?
No, I don't think so. I tweeted it after evictions that I started watching in season 19. I finally figured it out. Season 19 was my first season. That was Josh. It's the worst HOA train I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And
some of it was bad luck.
Some of it was bad luck, but with the wild card comp and the veto and all of that. But we said it last week. He boxed himself in a corner because he promised 80% of the house that he wasn't going to put him up. So that leaves you no options.
You can't do that.
You can't do that.
All you're going to do is piss off people.
And then he was threatening Derek X, and Derek was like cowering by the hammock. I'm like, dude, what do you, I liked him from the first 2 episodes. I was like, I like this guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants to do. He's a country boy. He's not this 24-year-old. He's 34, 35, like our age, my age, not your age. And like, you're younger than me.
I'm closer to your age than you are to his age.
That's true. That's true. But he just like, I don't know. He panicked and everyone was making this big deal about, I turn around and there's Frenchie, and I go to a different room and I turn around and there's Frenchie. I'm like, dude, just relax.
Yeah.
Relax.
He had a bad week. I don't know that he lasts very long. We'll have to see how this next few weeks shake out for him, but I already think he's.
Do you think that I already forgot what the alliance that he called him. Starts with an S. Slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
Slaughterhouse?
It doesn't last.
There's no way.
Chance.
There's no way, because he's got so many enemies in that.
Yeah.
That he doesn't realize.
No chance.
Again,
he's in for.
This is prefaced before Sunday night's episode. We were recording before Sunday night's episode.
That's true. Good point. Good point.
This is released on Monday, which will be after. I don't even know what happens tonight. Noms? It's Noms tonight?
Tonight will be Noms, and probably their wild card competition, I think, will probably be tonight as well.
Yeah. Do we want to say who HOH is and all that stuff? Spoil it?
Sure. You want
like
I mean,
days.
that was on Thursday. So if you haven't,
like
if you care and you haven't watched it, that's your fault. Yeah. What'd you think about Kylan
I love it.
winning? Yeah, I did too.
I love it. Kylan's at the top of my list. As far as
he just seems like a good guy.
Yeah, I hated to see him on the block last week.
Yeah.
I'm glad Derek pulled him off. Part of me wouldn't have been sad to see Alyssa go home. But like last week when we were talking, I was like, I think Tyson's kind of got a good head on his shoulder. Was it Tyson? His name's not Tyson,
yeah.
Was it?
No, Travis.
I was like, he's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he could go a long way, and out week 1. So
yeah. So
I'm not sure how I feel about the cast either, as in general.
It's early. We've only had 3 episodes, and most of it's been focused on Frenchie and his nonsense. So
yeah.
That's the problem with these shows, especially early on. There's so much material, so much content to make to tap. So many things happening in the house. All these cameras on 16 people for all this time, and you're putting it into what is essentially like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of TV time.
Yeah.
So you're gonna run into that. So we'll learn more about the rest of this cast as the season goes along. But definitely excited for this week because I like Kylan.
In other reality show news, Survivor has finished filming and will be on the air this fall.
That's exciting. I might get back into
my number
Survivor.
1 show. That's my number 1 show. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you always been a Survivor person?
Well, I thought we talked about this.
We have talked about this, but I don't remember. I know you've went back and just watched them all recently.
Yeah. It was when I lived at home, from 2000 to 2009 when I moved out. Actually, I probably stopped watching before I moved out. I probably watched the first 12 seasons with my family, and then I didn't watch. And then like season 36 or something like that, 35 or 36, I picked back up here in Champaign, and I watched those through. And then when the pandemic hit, they were on Hulu or something, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna start from the beginning, and I went all the way through 40 seasons in like 50 weeks. It was sweet.
That's a lot of. Are you still watching 24?
I was just gonna say that I've put 24 on pause. I'm on season 3.
Did you pause in the middle of a season, or
I think I'm like 1 episode in.
Okay.
Yeah, I had just.
Yeah, you're a little busy right now.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, Craig, I think it's been about an hour or so, so I think it's probably a good time to shut it down for the week. Any last final thoughts you want to give the people for before this week? This is your last show in your current location.
That's the plan right now.
But who knows?
Who knows what's gonna happen?
Who knows what's gonna happen? Where you're gonna be. And all that stuff. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and shut it down. Don't forget to give us a follow on Twitter. No One Asked Us Pod. You can follow him at Craig W. Choate. I'm at the Logan Lee. Like us, share us, comment on us, tell us what you want to hear, tell us where you're listening from, all that good stuff. We're going to be back I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. If Illinois basketball doesn't have any more news, we might finally have to come up with new topics to talk about. But either way, this has been episode 22 of No One Asked Us. The show will be up probably on Monday of this week, as we were recording this on Sunday night. For Craig Choate, I'm Logan Lee. We'll see you next week. Bye.